In this video, let us understand how to work with SQL Server. Alright, initially we have SQL Server software. Now this software we are trying to install. Now while installing, we'll have a name called instance. What is this instance actually? Instance means an object. While we create an object to class, it allocates some reference memory, and this name will allocate a memory. Here for example, I'll just give my name called DILIP. So here this name will allocate a memory. So let's look at thing in visualization form. So here I'm trying to create an instance. Okay. Here my instance name is, I'll just say instance memory Dilip. So in this instance memory, we will have number of databases and so on. Let's say we have this database DB1, DB2, DB3, DB4, DB5, and so on. Now here, when we are talking about instance memory, it is a collection of database objects, right? Here, in a single instance, in a single instance, we can create 32,767 databases. We can create in every single instance, like with different names. We can create 32,767 databases in our SQL server. Now, here when we just frame it, now SQL server is a collection of databases. Now let's see what actually this database is. What actually the database is. Database is nothing but collection of different objects, right? Collection of different objects. So what are actually objects here? Objects can be a tables, views, tables, views, synonyms, procedures, functions, triggers, etc. Now why we need a table and all these things here? See, we're trying to load and unload this data. We're trying to process, manipulate it, and we are trying to retrieve it, this data whenever we require. So we need to perform all these operations. So all these operations we are calling it as objects. Now this collection of different objects we are calling it as a database. So in a simple way, collection of different databases is an instance. Okay, now an instance is a collection of different databases, and the collection of different objects is our database. So simply this is an hierarchy for our SQL server. Now let us understand one important tool called SSMS. SSMS. Now, what is this SSMS? SSMS is called as SQL Server Management Studio. It is a developing tool. It is a developing tool, right? So in this developing tool, there are two categories. One is categorized into character user interface, and the other one is graphical user interface. Now, what is the purpose of this graphical user interface and character user interface? See, we have different kinds of commands in SQL Server, like create, create a new table, insert, update, delete, select. So we have different kinds of commands in SQL Server, right? So we need to perform some operations. So with the help of character user interface, we are just trying to put a query here so that we'll get the solution for that. And similarly, we are trying to use a graphical user interface. Here we are not putting any query here, but we are just directly plugging in with a click option. So this is just a thin line difference between these two. Only the thing is, like, we can use fast in terms of when we are using graphical user interface, we don't have to write any kind of command. And for character user interface, we are trying to write some commands. So when there are big commands, it's better to go for graphical user interface. So whatever it can be, like, both these operations are helpful to perform database operations, right? It will perform, it will help us to perform database operations. So this is about SQL Server Management Studio. Now let's see what will happen when we are connecting SSMS to server. So you'll see, I'll just try to draw a picture here. So when we are talking about SQL Server Management Studio, the next option we get here is connect to server. I'll just put it in a pictorial format so that it will be understandable. So here we have the complete window like this. All right. Now initially we have here server type, and we'll have some options in this box. This is our drop down box. Okay, here you can see some multiple options, and again we have another option called server name. Okay, again we have here this drop down box here. Again we have another one called authentication. So again here we have this drop down option. After this we have an options called username and password. We have these two options as well, and finally in the bottom we'll have connect, cancel, help, and options. All right, now when we're talking about a server type, we are trying to say how many servers we have, how many types of services we basically have, and this is about a server type. Now when we're talking about a server name, we're talking about what is my actually server name, how to find this server name. And then authentication generally uses for an option for security means, like how many authentications and what are they, will discuss in our further videos. And finally we'll just give a username and password, and finally we connect with server, right? Now here when we are talking about server type, basically it means it actually called services. Let me just put up in what I can say in a pictorial form again here. Now we are saying this is a server type. So let's see how many server types we have here. Okay, let's talk about the first one here, server type. Let's see how many servers we have. We have here database engine. So when we scroll down this option here, we'll get four options. One is database engine, and the other one is analysis services. We call it as SSAS. SSAS means SQL Server Analysis Services. And the next one is reporting services. It means SQL Server reporting services. Next one is integrated services. SQL Server integrated services, SSIS. Now here we are going to use, for a database engine, we are trying to use a developing tool called SSMS. We are trying to use here a developing tool called SSMS, right? And for this services here, which you are seeing here, we use a developing tool called MSBI, Microsoft Business Intelligence, right? Here we use MSBI tools, Microsoft Business Intelligence tools. For this Microsoft Business Intelligence tool, we have a developing tool called BITS. BITS is nothing but Business Intelligence Development Studio. So in this environment, we are trying to build the applications for analysis services, reporting services, and integrated services. We are trying to use all this with the help of, we are going to use all this in Business Intelligence Development Studio. Here in the database engine, we are trying to use SQL Server Management Studio. All right, here we have learned how to work with SQL Server, about instance memory and then database, and then we are just drill down further what actually SQL Server Management Studio, and then we are understood about the interfaces CUI and GUI, where it will perform database operations. And then we just understood how to convert with the server with the drop down list. Here I just explained the first one here with the server type actually. So here we have different types of services in server type: database engine, SSAS, SSRS, and SSIS. And further it is used in different development tools, which is SSMS as well as in BITS. So this is about this video. I'll see you some more in the next one. Thank you for watching.